Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs just destroyed, completely crushed this moronic and incorrect narrative that has been circling around their program, not only across college football, but on the recruiting trail as well. And it's a narrative that I've been hearing for years, right? And you've probably heard it too. Georgia can't develop wide receivers. Georgia doesn't get wide receivers into the NFL. Georgia's a place where wide receivers go to die. That's what everyone says. And by everyone, I mean opposing programs, opposing coaches. That's what they're telling these kids and their parents on the recruiting trail. And the numbers don't really help Georgia's case, but the narrative is wrong for so many reasons. It's been wrong for a while. Wide receivers can absolutely go to Georgia, get developed, and make plays in the NFL. Actually, make big plays in the NFL. We see it time and time again. And just watching the NFL Combine this past week, watching Lad McConkey, a former 3-star prospect that Georgia offered in December of 2019, right before they ended up closing with their 2020 class. He was a late addition. Kirby watched him play basketball, knew he had something special about him. He ran a 4.39 at 5'11", 187. This is a guy that Tennessee said no thanks to. Lad McConkey grew up a Tennessee fan. Georgia offered. He went and visited Tennessee one final time before making a decision, hoping to get a scholarship offer. Tennessee said, no thanks, son. You're not what we're looking for. You're not good enough to play at Tennessee. So what does he do? He goes to Athens, has a big-time career, one of the better wide receivers, maybe in program history, considering that he's a 2-time national champion, scored 2 touchdowns against TCU, and the guy made play after play after play. He might be an early mid-second round pick. I think at his peak, he'll be a first-rounder, but he got developed at Georgia. He was a 3-star promising receiver who got better and better each and every year thanks to Cortez Hankton and Brian McClendon. Now, former 3-star Lad McConkey, one of the lowest ranked guys in that 2020 class, might sneak into the first round. That's what happens if you work hard, dedicate yourself to being the best you can, practice hard every day, and listen to the coaches, right? You're gonna see the field if you do all that. And you're going to have an opportunity to make plays, and Lad McConkey did it. But he's not the only one. A.D. Mitchell, who's a dog, right? If you got Texas buddies who are claiming A.D. Mitchell, you can let them. He had a great year. But when people think of A.D. Mitchell, they're going to think about his time at Georgia. The catch against Alabama, the catch against Ohio State, the catch against TCU, the catch against Michigan. He was a big play machine in Athens, and he will always be a Georgia Bulldog. He ran a 4.34. At 6'4", 190. Dude runs like a deer. He's got hang time like Michael Jordan. He was a 4-star prospect in high school. He wasn't a 5-star. In fact, I think he was like a low to mid 4-star, if I remember correctly. But he got better at Georgia. And they took his talent and turned him into a special player. Now, people are going to look at the numbers and say, well, he didn't catch the ball much at Georgia. He did a lot as a freshman, and he was hurt his second season in 2022. He played against Oregon, showed out, had a big-time touchdown catch against the Ducks. I think he got hurt on the first play in week 2, didn't play till the very end of the year. So, yeah, basically almost all the regular season he had as a sophomore, he didn't play. But when he did, he was phenomenal. Marcus Rosemy-Jackson, gonna get drafted. There's 3 Bulldogs right there, receivers, who are gonna get drafted, make a roster, and for some of these guys, maybe have a really nice NFL career. A lot of people are going to be mad I'm doing this, and I'm not really doing it, but Jermaine Burton wouldn't make 4. Georgia fans do not claim Jermaine Burton. They are not real happy with Jermaine Burton. But he won a national title at Georgia, had a big touchdown catch against Michigan. He's got moments as a Georgia Bulldog, and he's got a championship ring. But for some reason, Georgia fans rubbed him the wrong way. I don't know what happened. I've known Jermaine Burton for a long time. When he had 0 offers, I was covering Jermaine Burton, knew he'd be a really good player. He's going to get drafted. You could throw him into the mix. That would be 4 wide receivers. I'm done hearing about the narrative because it still happens on the recruiting show. Coaches are telling these guys, you're not going to catch 80 passes at Georgia. You're not going to go for 1,000 yards. You're not going to be the guy. Well, Brock Bowers was the guy, and he did it at tight end. So don't tell these kids that they can't come to Georgia and be an alpha pass catcher. Whether it's a wide receiver, tight end, doesn't matter. George Pickens was drafted a couple of years ago, and he's turned out to be still one of the better young receivers in the NFL. But yeah, they didn't have someone drafted last year, and they've gone years without, having a wide receiver drafted, but they developed Isaiah McKenzie as a third, three-star guy who came in as a returner, turned wide receiver, got drafted. Mecole Hardman got better at wide receiver and got drafted. Terry Godwin came to Georgia, a highly ranked player. I think he was a low 5-star. He got drafted. Riley Ridley came to Georgia. He got drafted. Javon Wims transferred to Georgia. He got drafted. Dom Lovett's going to get drafted. Rob Thomas probably going to get drafted. We'll see about a lot of those other guys. Dylan Bell probably going to get drafted. But the narrative that if you're a wide receiver, you can't play at Georgia, it's ridiculous to me. But it takes a special wide receiver to be at Georgia and make that type of an impact. You have to be able to block. You have to be able to do your job, do your role, because the ball is going to get distributed. All right, they've got a stable of backs. They've got other receivers, right? They've got weapons. And you've got a quarterback this year, especially, who knows how to take care of the football, and goes to the right receiver, right? He does the right thing with the ball. If you hear some noise, I apologize. They're building a house right across the street. And today they're trying to be as loud as possible. So if you hear a little beep, beep, beep going on, it's, they're building a house across the street. So I apologize. But I think coaches should apologize to the Georgia staff for telling these kids, hey, why are you looking at Georgia? You're a 5-star receiver. And Georgia hasn't done a great job landing these 5-star receivers. A big reason because they don't need 5-star receivers. Georgia doesn't need receivers like other programs need those receivers. Georgia can win without them. But they will take a 4-star A.D. Mitchell, turn him into a superstar. They will take a 3-star Lad McConkey and turn him into something. Now, yes, other guys are going to transfer out. Georgia just saw a whole crew of receivers transfer because they were buried on the depth chart. It is what it is. Not everyone's going to make it. And guys might come to the program that are better than you. You've got to make a choice, right? And I'm not saying that Georgia is with Alabama and Ohio State as far as just pumping receivers out left and right. They're not doing that. Right? That's not what they want to do. It's not what they're known for. It's not going to be what they're ever going to do, if that makes sense. They're never going to be wide receiver university, right? They're tight end university, and they're inside linebacker university, and maybe offensive line university. But they're not pumping out receivers like those two programs are. But you can still go to Georgia at wide receiver. Not only play early, because we've seen that happen too. George Pickens played early. Jermaine Burton played early. A.D. Mitchell played early, of course. Dylan Bell played early. So you can go to Georgia as a receiver and not only see the field early, but win championships and be drafted in the NFL. So I think the narrative was already crushed by people who understand what they're talking about and can use their eyeballs and have a little common sense. But the narrative that Georgia can't recruit big-time receivers is wrong. Because to them, Lad McConkey was big time, even though they offered him very late in the process. I think when they figured it out, okay, wow, we missed on this kid until now. Everyone else missed on this kid as well. They saw big time talent with him. They saw with A.D. Mitchell. They saw with George Pickens, of course, because that was easy to see. But Dylan Bell as a receiver, they said we see something to him that most programs aren't. He's a 3-star from Houston. People might be questioning why we're going to go take this kid, but we are, because we know how good he is, and we know that we can develop him, and he's going to be sitting in this spot next year, possibly being considered a second, maybe first-round pick. Yeah, that's if things go outstanding for him, right? That's if everything goes the way they should, as good as possible for Dylan Bell. But Carson Beck needs guys to throw to. Gunnar Stockton's going to need receivers to throw to, and they're going to air it out a little bit. And Carson had a great season, phenomenal season. Lit it up. A lot of yards. Not a ton of touchdowns, but they had a lot of rushing touchdowns. So you can't. That's hard to do consistently. But you can throw the ball a lot. You can get a lot of yards and as many touchdowns as possible. But when you have a good running game too, there are going to be days where you don't throw the ball as much, right? And the game's over by halftime. You're going to bring the subs in. You're not going to air it out. So the numbers for these receivers may not be where they are compared to other receivers across the country. But these NFL GMs, they see beyond the numbers. They see beyond the statistics. And they know that these receivers are getting better in Athens, at Georgia, right? They know that. And we're going to see several wide receivers taken this year from Georgia, and we're going to see more next year. And again, they're not pumping them out like Alabama and Ohio State, but to say that Georgia doesn't develop their receivers and doesn't get their receivers to the NFL, it's crazy. Mecole Hardman scored a game-winning touchdown, caught the game-winning touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. Chris Conley, who made a lot of special teams plays, he's still in the league after 10 years. George Pickens is still making plays. You can go to Georgia and become a fantastic wide receiver and one who can make big plays in the next level. And they're going to prove that more and more, not only in this April's NFL draft, but next season, so on and so on. Thanks for watching this video. You can sign up to Dawg Post by clicking on our free newsletter. That link is down below. It's free to read. Some stories, not all of them, but it's free to sign up. You get an email every day with our stories. It's the best thing you'll ever do, today at least, is signing up to our free newsletter. Thank you for watching this video. Really hope you appreciate it. Hope to see you on the website.